Have you ever suspected that someone you loved deeply was hiding a secret from you? That's exactly what happened to me. I believed our marriage was unbreakable, filled with love and trust, until I discovered an affair that shook the very foundation of my life. What I did next completely turned the tables on her. Stay with me. You're about to see how betrayal, love, and deception collide in ways that nobody saw coming, and how the most cunning plan can backfire in the most dramatic way. My name is David Reynolds. I'm 39 years old, living in California, USA. I devoted myself to building a life filled with love and laughter, cherishing my family and the home we created together. I never imagined betrayal could strike so close to the heart, but I wasn't about to let it destroy everything I cherished. This is my story of love, heartbreak, and calculated revenge. Life with Megan felt like a dream I had carefully built over years. We lived in a comfortable suburban home in California, the kind of place where neighbors smiled and kids played freely in the yard. Every morning started the same way. The scent of coffee brewing, sunlight spilling through the kitchen window, and the soft hum of laughter as Megan and I exchanged morning greetings. Our children ran between the living room and kitchen, their little hands clutching backpacks and school lunches, reminding me of everything worth fighting for. Megan and I shared more than a home. We shared routines, responsibilities, and countless moments that strengthened the bonds of our family. I took pride in maintaining a stable life, providing for our family, and ensuring the home we worked so hard for remained a sanctuary. We laughed together, celebrated small victories, and comforted one another through the minor stresses of daily life. I believed in our partnership, in the trust we had forged through years of mutual care and understanding. Yet, beneath the laughter and routine, subtle hints began to appear, tiny fractures in the seemingly perfect life we had built. Megan would step away during calls, her voice hushed and hurried, or take trips without explanation, brushing off my questions with practiced ease. Late at night, I noticed her phone light flickering under the covers, messages appearing and disappearing too quickly to read. I brushed these moments off at first, convincing myself that life could be stressful, that everyone deserved a little privacy. But a part of me felt a quiet, gnawing unease, a whisper that something was amiss. Despite these fleeting doubts, my focus remained on being a devoted husband and father. I woke early to prepare breakfast, ensure my children were ready for school, and leave notes for Megan expressing love and encouragement. I juggled work responsibilities, household duties, and parenting without complaint, driven by the belief that dedication and honesty would protect our family from harm. Each small act, I told myself, was a building block toward a secure, loving life. Even in moments of quiet reflection, as I watched my children playing or listened to Megan humming while tidying the kitchen, I felt a swell of pride and contentment. This was the life I had envisioned, a life of love, trust, and stability. And yet, the very routine that brought comfort would soon be shattered, the trust one had placed so fully in Megan teetering on the brink of destruction. The subtle signs I had noticed, the hurried calls, the secretive texts, the unexplained absences, would become the threads unraveling the fabric of a life I thought I knew. In those early days, I had no idea that behind the smiles and shared moments, a secret was quietly growing, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. I was committed, hardworking, and devoted, believing love and trust would be enough to safeguard my family. But the world has a way of testing the bonds we hold most dear, and the tests often arrive unannounced, disguised as ordinary days in ordinary life. It started with small, seemingly innocent clues, receipts that didn't match her explanations, locations she couldn't account for, and the constant buzzing of her phone at odd hours. Each tiny inconsistency gnawed at me, whispering that something was very wrong. At first, I tried to dismiss it, telling myself it was stress from work or simple miscommunication. But then the evidence began to pile up. I found unexpected charges at unfamiliar places, notes on her calendar that didn't add up, and messages that disappeared before I could read them. My heart sank as the pieces came together, forming a picture I never wanted to see. Megan had been having an affair. Shock paralyzed me first. Disbelief followed. I couldn't process how the person I trusted most, the woman I loved and built a life with, could betray our family this way. Anger simmered beneath the surface, sharp and hot, yet I struggled to control it. Every memory of our shared life, the mornings with coffee, the laughter with our children, the dreams we had built, was suddenly tainted by doubt and hurt. I replayed every interaction in my mind, questioning how long this had been going on. How could she do this to our family? How long has this been happening without me knowing? The thought of her deception over months, hiding secrets in plain sight, made my chest tighten. It wasn't just the act. It was the calculation, the lies, the careful steps she took to keep me blind to the truth. When I confronted Megan, expecting guilt or panic, she smiled as if nothing was wrong. Her casual demeanor, the effortless act of pretending, pushed my frustration to the edge. It was infuriating the way she could sit across from me, maintain her calm, and make me question my own instincts. That smile, so full of deceit, only strengthened my resolve. The room felt heavy, the air thick with tension. Every word exchanged, every glance, carried the weight of our shattered trust. I realized then that this was no ordinary betrayal. It was a test, and I had been unknowingly navigating a minefield of lies. Even as anger and hurt burned within me, I knew I couldn't let it consume me. I had to think, observe, and strategize. The subtle hints, the late-night texts, the mysterious trips, the hidden messages were clues I could use. Megan's confidence and her belief that I was unaware became my advantage. In that moment, the emotional storm inside me gave way to a quiet determination. I wouldn't be destroyed by her betrayal. I would expose the truth, protect my family, and reclaim control. And though the road ahead was fraught with tension and uncertainty, one thing was clear: Megan had underestimated me, and her arrogance would be her undoing. I realized that if I wanted the truth, I couldn't rely on assumptions or casual observations. I had to investigate discreetly, carefully piecing together the fragments of Megan's secret life. I started with her phone records, noting patterns in late-night calls and messages that seemed innocent at first, but now hinted at hidden connections. I traced locations, cross-referencing her explanations with timestamps, and even observed social media activity she thought I wouldn't notice. Each tiny detail added to a growing mosaic of betrayal, and with every discovery, the weight in my chest intensified. The emotional roller coaster was relentless. Waves of grief hit me when I remembered moments I had trusted implicitly. Anger flared as I realized the depth of the deception. But beneath it all, a spark of determination began to grow, a determination to protect what I had built and to ensure that justice would be served. I knew that uncovering her affair was only part of the battle. There were also financial implications to consider: hidden transactions, unexplained expenses, and possibly concealed assets. To navigate this, I consulted a lawyer privately, someone I could trust to advise me on potential custody and property implications without tipping Megan off. The office felt sterile, almost surreal, as I laid out the facts, every word reinforcing the reality that my life had shifted dramatically. With the lawyer's guidance, I carefully documented everything: screenshots, timestamps, account statements, and digital evidence that could hold up under scrutiny. Each new piece of information felt like a double-edged sword. Painful because it confirmed the betrayal, but empowering because it gave me leverage. The realization that I could use these concrete facts to protect my family and reclaim control fueled a rising sense of hope and resilience. And then came the twist that changed everything. In my meticulous review of the evidence, I discovered undeniable proof, not just of the affair, but of hidden financial transactions Megan had hoped would remain invisible. The confirmation was shocking, a mix of relief and righteous indignation. For the first time since learning of her deception, I felt I had the upper hand. This evidence wasn't just about exposing infidelity, it was the key to safeguarding our family, our home, and our future. In that moment, I understood that strategy and patience were as crucial as justice. Every phone record, every location, every transaction I uncovered had a purpose. Megan's overconfidence and secrecy had left traces, and those traces were now my path forward. I felt the tide begin to turn, the scales of our lives shifting slowly but decisively in my favor. The battle had only begun, but for the first time, I was no longer powerless. I had a plan, and it was about to change everything. I knew that confronting Megan directly would only play into her confidence. She believed she was untouchable, that her secrets were safe, and that I would never uncover the truth. But I had learned enough to realize that careful planning, patience, and precision were my greatest weapons. I began meticulously documenting everything, every phone call, every suspicious message, every financial transaction that hinted at her hidden dealings. I organized evidence for potential custody hearings and tracked all financial assets and hidden accounts she had tried to conceal. Each document, each record, became a brick in the fortress I was building to protect my family and our future. While Megan continued her daily routine, oblivious to my growing awareness, I subtly manipulated situations to elicit clues and mistakes from her. A casual question here, a suggestion there. Small nudges designed to reveal more than she realized she was exposing. Each interaction required patience and control. I couldn't let emotions overtake strategy. The suspense was intense. Megan, thinking she was still ahead, carried on her affairs with the same ease and confidence she always had. I watched from the sidelines, my heart racing with a mix of anger, betrayal, and anticipation. Every movement, every slight hesitation from her added to the tension, signaling that the perfect moment for action was approaching. Then came the mini twist, the moment that turned careful planning into decisive leverage. Using the patterns and evidence I'd gathered, I set a trap, both digital and situational, designed to expose her indiscretions in a way she couldn't deny or cover up. The trap was subtle, invisible to her eyes, yet unavoidable once triggered. When the first signs of it activated, I saw the first flicker of panic cross her face even before she realized what had happened. The careful balance of patience, strategy, and timing had worked in my favor. The betrayal that had once seemed overwhelming was now an opportunity to reclaim control and ensure justice, not just for me, but for our children and the life we had worked so hard to build. In those hours of planning and execution, I felt a surge of both adrenaline and relief. The emotional storm that had threatened to consume me, grief, anger, fear, was now channeled into focused determination and righteous purpose. Megan's underestimation of me was her greatest mistake, and I was ready to ensure that the truth came to light in the most undeniable way. The courtroom was tense, every corner filled with the weight of anticipation. As I stepped forward with the evidence I had painstakingly gathered, my heart pounded in my chest. Each document, each recorded message, and every financial transaction lay before the judge, a testament to the betrayal that had threatened to destroy my family. Megan sat across from me, her usual composure cracking. I could see it in her eyes, the first flickers of panic, the subtle tension in her shoulders, the brief tremor in her hands. She had believed she was untouchable, that her secrets were invisible to the world and to me. But now, confronted with the undeniable proof, her confidence faltered. As my lawyer presented the evidence, I watched the subtle expressions of shock and guilt cross her face. My internal monologue was steady, controlled, even as my emotions swirled. I never wanted to destroy her, but I couldn't let her take my family and assets. Today it ends. Every carefully prepared fact and every meticulously documented transaction worked in my favor, and I could feel the tide turning. The judge examined the evidence closely, the room silent except for the deliberate turning of papers and the occasional low murmur. I held my breath, each second stretching like an eternity, and then the climactic moment arrived, the judge's decision. The ruling was clear. Custody of our children was granted to me, ensuring their stability and safety. Our property and assets were protected, and the hidden accounts Megan had thought were beyond reach were fully exposed. Relief and triumph surged through me, mingled with a bittersweet pang of sorrow for the trust that had been broken. In that courtroom, justice had been served, not as vengeance, but as the rightful protection of what I had built of my family and of the life we had fought to create. Megan's miscalculations, her arrogance, and her underestimation of me had all contributed to her undoing. The betrayal that had seemed insurmountable was now fully addressed, and the scales of our lives were balanced once more. Even as I left the courtroom, the emotions lingered, relief, pride, and the quiet satisfaction that truth and perseverance had won. This was more than a legal victory, it was a restoration of the life and love I had worked so hard to protect. The story was far from over. But in this chapter, the outcome was clear, justice had prevailed, and betrayal had met its reckoning. Asterisk,